नमस्कार। प्रभा कितान फाउंडेशन, एहसास वुमेन भुवनेश्वर एवं मेफेयर होटल्स एंड रिसोर्ट्स की ओर से आप सभी का राइट सर्कल के इस वर्चुअल सत्र में हार्दिक स्वागत है। आज के हमारे विशिष्ट अतिथि हैं आनंद नीलकंठन जी। आनंद नीलकंठन जी एक प्रसिद्ध लेखक, स्तंभकार, पटकथा लेखक, टेलीविजन व्यक्तित्व और प्रखर वक्ता हैं। आपने अंग्रेजी में 5 किताबें और एक मलयालम में एक किताब लिखी है और उनकी पहली कृति असुरा द टेल ऑफ वैंक्विश्ड रामायण महाकाव्य पर आधारित है। उनकी अगली पुस्तक श्रृंखला अजया रोल ऑफ द डाइस एंड अजया राइज ऑफ काली, जो कि महाभारत पर आधारित है और ये कौरवों के दृष्टिकोण से लिखी गई पुस्तक है। अगर हम इन किताबों के बारे में देखें और समझें तो आनंद जी ने हमेशा पराजित, प्रताड़ित और दबे हुए स्वरों को अपनी रचनाओं में मुखर करने की कोशिश की है और उनकी जो 5वीं पुस्तक है वानरा द लेजेंड ऑफ बाली, सुग्रीव और तारा की कथा, इसमें भी उन्होंने पराजित पक्ष को सुनने की कोशिश की है और उसे अभिव्यक्त करने की कोशिश की है। आनंद नीलकंठन ने फिल्म पर आधारित 3 पुस्तकों की श्रृंखला, जो कि बाहुबली, जो ब्लॉकबस्टर फिल्म बाहुबली है, उसके लेखक भी आप हैं और इस श्रृंखला की पहली पुस्तक द राइज ऑफ शिवगामी मार्च 2017 में प्रकाशित हुई, जिस पर एक वेब सीरीज की घोषणा भी हो चुकी है नेटफ्लिक्स पर। बड़ी ही जल्दी हम इसे देख पाएंगे। आपके पुस्तकों का विभिन्न भाषाओं में जैसे तमिल, हिंदी, मलयालम, तेलुगु, कन्नड़, मराठी, बंगाली, गुजराती, असमिया और इंडोनेशियाई भाषाओं में भी अनुवाद हो चुका है। आनंद की असुर अमेज़न के अनुसार जीवन काल में पढ़ी जाने वाली 100 पुस्तकों में से एक मानी जाती है और उनकी सभी पुस्तकों को दुनिया भर के विभिन्न आलोचकों से मान्यताएं प्राप्त हैं। आपकी पुस्तक एक बेस्ट सेलर है, वानरा द लेजेंड ऑफ बाली, सुग्रीव एंड तारा। ये एक बेस्ट सेलर पुस्तक है। आनंद समसामयिक प्रसंगों पर न्यूज इंडिया एक्सप्रेस में एक कॉलम भी लिखते हैं। हमारा सौभाग्य कि ऐसे प्रतिभा संपन्न व्यक्तित्व आज हमारे साथ इस सत्र में उपस्थित हैं और आपके साथ बात करेंगी हमारी अपनी एहसास वुमेन भुवनेश्वर डॉक्टर निधि गर्ग। निधि एक साइकोलॉजिस्ट है, एक मोटिवेशनल स्पीकर है, काउंसलर है और एक बहुत ही प्यारी इंसान है। सो आनंद नीलकंठन जी, आपका स्वागत है। निधि, आपका स्वागत है। आप अपनी चर्चा आरंभ कर सकते हैं।
Oh, very good evening and a warm welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for being here. From being an engineer from the Government Engineering College, Thrissur, to a world-renowned writer who has been listed among the top 100 celebrities in India in 2015-2017 by Forbes India. 3 of your books have been shortlisted for Crossword Award. How come this journey from an engineer to this renowned writer, sir?
Engineering I did for livelihood. I hate maths.
Okay.
I don't like engineering. That was the only way to get a job. Other choice was to go to medicine. Even though I write a lot of war stories and all, I faint if I see blood. I'm that brave. So,
Okay.
wrong thing to tell to a doctor, perhaps. So engineering was the only choice at that time. I passed in '96. So that era, the software was coming and all those things. So that is the era where every parent wanted their child either to be a doctor or an engineer. There was no other profession left. So I was forced into engineering. I passed with a lot of difficulty, with a lot of back papers and all, and
Okay.
got a job. Then I came back to my passion.
Okay. So how did you realize that, yes, you have a passion for writing? And
I always wanted, this was my passion. Other one was force-fed. Engineering was force-fed.
Okay.
I have a choice like most of the middle class Indian kids. I was forced to do engineering. That's all. So I always, I loved the engineering college. I loved everything about the college except studying engineering.
Okay.
And
Glad
I came out as everything except an engineer.
Okay. Glad that you came out as a writer. We have got books and we can talk to you today. So where this inclination towards mythology, sir? There could be so many zonals where you could have written, but why mythology?
I wrote what I have interest, passion, and some bit of knowledge about, because there was choices of writing many things. But when I had started writing the Purana based stories, the mythology, what we call, in India, it was not big. There were hardly one or two writers writing in that space. Ashok Bangar, the pioneer, was there, who was, of course, and he still remains one of the best
Pioneers, yeah.
pioneers in this. Other than that, hardly any books were there. Then suddenly, so when I choose that, I didn't think that, okay, this is going to be a trend or anything. A lot of people discouraged me also, because that was the time when the publishers used to say mythology will not sell, because who wants to hear the old stories? So that was a time when people were writing more of a, still they write, but romance, light romances, or very literary works, mostly seeing India with a slightly biased from a westerners eyes, right for the westerners. That was what English literature was all about. One was this popular stream of writing romance, light-hearted romance, and the other one was writing for a Western audience, seeing India through their eyes. So where you write, if you put one Indian word, one Hindi or Sanskrit or Tamil word, you put it in italics and give the explanation for that. You say dharma, then you'll have to give what is dharma, the explanation. Because you are writing for Americans and Europeans and expecting them to give you some awards. So show India in a gray light or dark light. That's usually often works, like Slumdog Millionaire or something like that. No, even literary works also it works. There is always a market for that. So these were the two genres.
Okay.
But when I wanted to write, I thought I will write what I am passionate about. I will write about characters like Ravan, Duryodhan, etc. more fascinating. And Ravana was the one who was, I always had a, fascination on.
Okay.
So I wrote it. Then, fortunately, at that time, suddenly, perhaps we might be that wave of writers who came in 2010, 12. 2-3 of us are there. Amish, Ashwin, myself. All these things came together, and suddenly the market picked up. So the second wave of this kind of writing on mythology picked up from there, from these 3-4 writers, including it had started at that time, but it happened, not that anybody had planned to do it like that.
Usually there's an inclination towards Ram, but you are the one who has inclination towards Ravana, especially in this belt of India, I would say. Why so?
Ram, so many great writers have written about Lord Ram.
Right.
So many medieval poets, from Tulsidas, Gosamiji, Sarla Das, to Kambar, to Edutachan, to you name it, every language, every great poet has written about Ram. So many serials, so many films have come. There should be somebody to write about Ravan too. Without Ravan, there is no Ram. And what more can I write more than all these legendary great saint poets about Ram? I'll be just, so I wanted to do something passionate, which I was passionate about, and something which was totally different also, not do the same thing. And if I had written another story about Ram, how many people would have bought the book and read that of an unknown writer who has no pedigree, who doesn't come from a writer family, who learned English very late in life after reaching engineering college, who studied in the local medium, who still thinks in Malayalam and writes in English. So from a small town. So this is I'm not the kind of guy who could have easily broken into this field. It happened. Some element of luck was there, some element of timing was there, some element of skill was there, and a lot of hard work was there. So all these things combined.
So you're not only a storyteller, a writer, but also a strategist. Who is going to read Ram again and again? So thanks, you gave us another aspect to it. Sir, in a lot of your interviews, you have spoken about Purana, Stal Purana. What do we understand by
No, it
this?
is the localized legends. If you really see the Ramayana and Mahabharata, every village in India has something related to Ram, Ravan, the characters of Rama and Sita. Every village. It doesn't matter geographically. It might have been improbable that all these people had come there. But every village will have, according to that sthala, that place, every village will have some legend or other associated with some Puranic, either with Shiva, either with Shakti, either with Ram, Krishna, or other characters from our Purana. Something or other will be associated with that. All these, if you collect, that is much bigger than the other written 18 Puranas. All these kind of localized mythologies or Purana. Purana and mythology are not the same word. I am using it for want of a better word in English. All these Puranas, what you call Purana, means the old tales, the folk tales and all those things, which is very localized one. For example, I have a writing retreat and a farmhouse kind of thing, a resort in Wayanad in Kerala. Now Wayanad is famous because Rahul Gandhi won from that constituency, but otherwise it's a beautiful place. It is a hill station in Kerala. There, the tribals believe that entire Ramayana happened there. They have their own Ayodhya, they have their own Lanka. In that district itself, everything is there. That tribal Ramayana, that Sarabhurana says there is a Valmiki Sastram. Everything you name in Ramayana, everything is in the concise form. They believe that it all happened among their tribe. Ram was there, Ravan was there. Like that, you travel across India, you find some places you find it entirely it happened, just like Thailand or Indonesia, and all these people believe the Ramayana happened there. That is their Salapurana. Similarly, you find that not only about Ramayana or Mahabharata, about other tales also. It's like Orissa itself. When I come, every temple you go, they have a story to tell what happened here. This is common among India. Any place, something or other, Shiva would have come there, Agastya would have done a tapasya there, Vishwamitra would have walked through. So this forms a huge corpus of literature, and most of them are oral. Most of them are not written. So when you travel, you encounter this kind of story. So Ajaya was inspired by that, because there is a temple of Duryodhan in Kerala. Not only Duryodhan, there are temples nearby that, which has Ashwatthama as the Murti, which has Shakuni as the Murti. Shakuni is the god.
Oh my god. Shakuni is the god.
Oh my Shakuni, you let to call her. So Shakuni is a god there.
We always have a negative image about him. So we need to visit that, I guess.
A lot of them across India, you find this temple for Ghatotkacha, temple for Hidumba. So many of them are there. There is no end to this.
There is lots to explore in India.
Plenty.
Sir, about you, you have written 7 books, 500 TV serial episodes, 200 columns in the newspaper. Web series is coming up in Netflix. Sir, what is your lifestyle? What is your mantra? How do you manage doing so much together?
I work only for 3 hours a day. Rest of the time I laze around. So
really, sir? How do you do that?
That is only enough. That is enough actually. You wake up early in the morning when everybody is sleeping. 4 o'clock Brahma Muhurta, you wake up. It's very simple mathematics if you really see. Even though I hate mathematics, at least I know how to count.
But I'm sure a lot of people are looking for this formula of yours.
You wake up early in the morning. That's the first thing. Some people may work in the night. So I'm not saying this is compulsory. I'm telling how I do. Wake up early in the morning. 4 o'clock, 4:10, you are on a table. In your table, you write 1,000 words to 1,500 words a day. Whether it is bad, ugly, you write it. A novel is what? A novel is 80,000 words. That itself is a big novel like this is something around 80,000 words. Or my Asura is around 150,000 words. Or Ajaya is 1,000 words. This one. So even if you take it as say 1 lakh words on an average, which itself is big. How many days you need? If you write 1,500, 1,500, some days in a mood you write 2,000 words or 2,500 words. So in 70 days, 80 days, you have the first draft. Then it is the editing process and all those things. So any human being can come up with a novel provided at least the first draft of the novel in 100 days easily by working 1 hour or 1.5 hours a day. So all these excuses that I am busy, I am working here, I am working there, I don't have time are just excuses. So 1 hour if you dedicate, just imagine this. People consider writing as if it has to flow from somewhere, like nothing. It's like any other profession. It is like any other art, I would say. It is not a profession like what do you call that you are a carpenter or anything like that. That also is a skill. Writing also needs skill, but it's more like any other art. Suppose you are a musician or you are a dancer. How many hours you would have practiced before you come to the stage? To get into the stage, how many hours of practice you would have done?
I don't know, like for me, thinking of coming up with a novel in 100 days looks like an impossible project. But
I'm not saying in 100 days you start writing a novel. In 100 you are going to come up with a War and Peace, or you are going to come up with a Shakespearean work. This every day if you write 1 or 2 years, you would have clocked not less than 10 lakh words.
Okay.
It is like practice. It is like practicing what you call for singing. How many hours of practice you would have done? You are learning veena, you are learning violin, you are learning pakava, you are learning tabla. You would have spent 10 years, 12 years practicing it, at least 1 or 2 hours a day. You are professional, you practice more than that. Then only you dare to come and come to the stage and perform before an audience. Many people take this writing very lightly. One way they take it as it's magical. Another way they say this excuse that I don't have time, otherwise I would have written. It is like
so you
saying,
always have time if you want that
two
time.
things are here, Nidhi. Two things are here. One is considering it as something like magic. It is not magic. Second thing is considering it as anybody could do it without practice. It's like saying that I will start, if I had time, I would have gone and sung like Muhammad Rafi or Yeshudas. There is writing is also like that. It's like saying that, oh, I am so busy. If I had time, then I would have sung like that. No, you cannot sing like that. You need practice. But there is enough time for you to practice. You practice 1 hour a day in 1 or 2 years, or at least 3 or 4 years, you own up your skills. Then, so you keep producing. The first 10, 15 stories you produce might be trash. You can come back to that and rewrite it later. But what you are doing is essentially making your brain work and think about stories and write about stories. It is exactly
that inclination and perseverance can lead you to the way
like
of
any other art. If you want to dance, can you say tomorrow I will go up the stage and dance like Michael Jackson? Or
we would love to see that, sir.
I will try. So I don't have time. Otherwise, I would have danced like him. Can you say?
Right, sir.
So writing is also like that. Anybody who has succeeded in any profession would have put a lot of hours into that.
True.
They put it regularly. They put it every day. They have a timetable for it. Anyone, that practice is important. If somebody is aspiring to write, you will have to practice. There is no other way. Maybe perhaps you are inspired and you might be able to do one story. Why? Because you have been churning that story in your mind. So you might be able to. So you find many writers who come up with one great book sometimes, and after that they vanish from the scene. Why? Because there is no practice. That one story they have practiced in their life.
Okay.
So if you are a professional writer, you have to write every day. That's first thing. Second thing, do not write for 18 hours, 19 hours. 1 hour is enough. 1 hour writing, 1.5 hours writing, 2-3 hours of reading. Reading is very important. Read widely. These two things you do, there is enough time. Then after that, what would you do with the rest of the 20 hours? So you laze around.
Okay.
You dream, you roam around.
Or maybe keep thinking about what to write more.
So that is what daydreaming. No, you sit and dream. Now it is okay. Now once you are initially it is difficult because family members will ask, why are you so lazy? Why are you sitting?
Yeah.
You're just sitting and looking at the sky. Are you mad, or will you smoke something? All these things they will ask. But once you break into, once you publish it, then anything goes. Any nonsense you can put that it is a writer's crankiness.
Right, sir.
So that license also will get.
Sir, you have written books on Shanta, Rama's sister, Meenakshi, Ravana's sister, Bhumija, on Sita. Your focus and inclination has been towards women, or what would you like to say about this?
No, the initial few I started working with the so-called villains or the antagonists. Then I moved. See, these are the voices which have never been given. These are the people who never had voices, whether it is the villains or whether the women. And the peculiarity of the women in Puranas is that, except Shaktaya Puranas, no? Except Devi Puranas, in all other Puranas, whether it is Shiva Puranas or especially on the Vaishnava tradition, which includes Ramayana and Mahabharata, the women's voice doesn't come out too much. It's subdued. Not especially in Valmiki Ramayana or Vedavyasa's Mahabharata, but in the Bhakti era Ramayana and Mahabharata, which more people are familiar with. So Sita, from a very brave woman, became a demure Adarsha Nari in the Bhakti era Ramayana.
Right.
And the other, all other women, no, like Tadaga or Meenakshi, Shanta got forgotten by herself. She is never referred. And what you call Tadaga, Meenakshi, the Mandodari, Tara, all these women, they have no voice at all. They are just, they were stereotyped. Unlike Valmiki Ramayana, in mostly the Bhakti era Ramayana, they got stereotyped. So Rakshasi means, you know how they depict in the TV serials.
True.
She has to be dark skinned, she has to be fat, everything what is inappropriate was shown in that. And she will come there and laugh, ha 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 ha. 25 minutes, then a commercial break, and then again she will continue to laugh.
Right.
Then she dies.
Right.
This is how they depict it. But my attempt is to go into their mind and who are these women, how they would have thought about, how it would be to live in Lanka as a common citizen and then face the Lanka Dahan when Hanuman comes and makes the Lanka burn. You are a common woman there. What wrong you did? You have a king. Maybe the king is evil. I don't know. I have no power to change the king. Imagine you are in Germany. You are a Jew woman and your ruler is Hitler. Do you have any option to change it? So you have not done anything wrong. You would have done 100 things wrong. Or Japanese might have done, Japanese emperor would have done 100 things wrong. But what did a poor man in Nagasaki or Hiroshima do when the bomb fell? Same way, when the Hanuman came and burnt Lanka, how will a poor woman living in Lanka would have desperately tried to save her children from the burning Lanka? We never talk about that side. No, we always talk about the victorious side.
The victorious side.
Or even inside the victorious side, what would have Sita felt when she was asked to go? What would have Shanta felt when she got forgotten? Whereas the entire Ram, Lakshman, everybody owes their birth to the sacrifice of Shanta. So it need not be on Asura side or Deva side or Vanira side. The women's voice gets suppressed everywhere. So this is my way to shed light on these kind of characters after moving away from the so-called villains. It's giving voice to these people, imagining the world entirely from the other side and see whether still it looks like the story of good versus evil, or it is just some stories where we ascribe the qualities of good and evil according to whatever we feel comfortable about, and then claim that it is a story of good as won over evil. Usually in all stories,
yeah, I think from my childhood, if I remember, all the stories have been like that only. We have been only given this one perspective, how the good won over the evil, you know, and probably I think, sir, it has always been a way of telling us that this is how you need to live your life. If you're good, you're going to win. If you're evil, you're going to be going to lose.
Then again, the question comes: if Mahabharata was a war of good versus evil, if it was a good that won, a Satya Yuga should have come. No, a good age should have come. A great age, noble age, Achhe Din should have come. But what came, like most promises of Achhe Din, is a Kali Yuga.
Right.
So what was it that won? If a good age, good as one, or what one was good, but what came was the evil age. And the question is whether what one was the good or the evil. The logical question, right?
Right.
So my books are about asking those questions and making people pause and think.
So your last book, Bahubali, The Rise of Shivagami.
Vanara was my last book. Not
Vanara, okay. But Bahubali, The Rise of Shivagami, what are your thoughts about this character of Shivagami?
Shivagami, I had modeled her from lots of historical characters actually. A lot of, in history, if you see across the world, you can find that it is there's a great story in following the career and the life of such women who struggle and come up in the man's world. Of drama comes. So as a storyteller, I am always fascinated about their lives. So in history, you can find such figures from Indira Gandhi to Mamata to Mayavadi to Jayalalitha to Rani Lakshmi. You go back, Razia Sultana to Rani Lakshmi Bai to you reach up to Sita. You find that the women struggle in a man's world and how the men deal with it and how the women deal with it. There are lots of stories lying there. So I modeled Shivagami based on all these characters from Florence Nightingale. Everything is there in that. It's a mix of from Margaret Thatcher, from Sirimava Bandaranaike to Benazir Bhutto. Every historical characters where women have sought power, which itself, if you really see, is something different from what people think the nature had intended for the women. These are the women who entered a man's ruthless world and outstepped the men in their own game. Because if you think perhaps, I don't know, talking to a doctor, maybe I might get it wrong, but evolution wise, if you really think it is a man's, at least if you are a caveman, you are a Neanderthal or a caveman, it was a man's duty to fight the war and women's duty was always to protect and nurture and bring up the next generation in a hunter-gatherer society. We still have that brain. We might have evolved culturally, but biologically we still have that brain. Physically also many a times we might have that brain. The society, civilization and culture would have blunted the contours of it, but still that exists. Then you have a culture, an oppressive patriarchal culture of almost 2000, 3000 years across the world. Maybe because all these things evolved from the biological evolution. So now when a woman comes up, her struggles are huge. She has to balance a lot. So Shivagami is inspired by that. So Shivagami, you find that she is the only Bhumivati in Mahishmati. So when she enters the Darbar or Sabha, she is the only woman other than the servant woman, a woman of power and position. It is there. But still they don't mind her. Her opinions are not taken. People patronize her. People see her sexually as a thing. So this is a man's darker nature or man's actual nature perhaps. Dark and white are the colors we ascribe. So her struggles become manifold. Like she gets slandered. That's what happens when you come to public. You come in a organization and all. So all these things reflect in the book.
Sir, there is a character, Skanda Dasa, who's the Up-Pradhan, and he comes from a low caste. So is there a message, something that you are trying to give through that character?
Definitely. No, all my stories, reflect the present day situation.
Mm-hmm.
They might be set in Lanka, they might be set in Hastinapur, they might be set in Kishkinda or Mahishmati. But for me, they are the present day India. So all the characters which I am telling, they have their prototypes from the real life. Maybe it's a combination of prototypes. So caste is a reality in India. How race is a reality in the Western world, caste is a reality in India. Whatever lip service we give, it is just like I said, it's a struggle of women. For the people who are ascribed as lower caste, it is a struggle to come up, whatever said and done. So imagine that happening in a medieval world where the oppression was so high and a man comes up from there. So he becomes a kind of father figure to Shivagami. So it is deliberate. Those kind of characters are deliberate.
So there is another character, Katappa, who's a slave, and he is willing to do anything and everything for his master. Is it an inspiration or demeaning? How do we take it?
Every power organization, political organizations, power, people who seek power, they need men like Katappa. Or they need men like Bhadra in Asura. So what happens is, see, all these are prototypes. If you really see, you want a henchman who doesn't, who might be good in his heart, but he will go and do whatever the master does. Master says. It is through this henchman that the manipulative people come to power. If there are no such people, who will fight the street wars for them? Who will go and murder people for them? So they can remain pure, they can claim we are pure model people, and they use henchmen. You can see it across history, across cultures. Such kind of henchmen always were there. They have their own feelings, and also Katappa becomes he's a noble character one way, but he is totally like he will obey because he thinks it is his duty to obey.
Right.
It is your dharma to obey. In Indian context, I will put that. This is a very tricky thing. You can make people do anything by convincing them that it is their dharma. Once you convince somebody that it is a duty, there is nothing wrong with duty. Dharma is not the actual translation of duty. It has got many layered meaning, but for convenience sake, I am telling this. It is like a knife. The knife can be used to cut vegetables, knife can be used to stab people also. So in the hands of unscrupulous politicians, they use the duty as a tool to brainwash people like Katappa, who are noble at heart, to make them do their bidding. It happens, Sambhavami Yuge Yuge, it happens again and again, every time, in every era. So these are all the prototypes. So Shivappa is the opposite of that. He's a revolutionary. He wants the system to change, but he doesn't know how to change it. So he fights. That also we find who we call the misguided revolutionaries or all those things. Their intention might be correct. All their actions go wrong. It becomes a mess. So all this comes as a prototypes from the society. For example, the Jara, which I had put in the Ajaya series. He is the other part of Bhadra. That is another kind of people, which he represents a majority of people actually, who blindly believe their master. So Jara is a blind believer. He will fight for his master. He might not be a violent man or anything, but he is not ready to hear anything bad. He has already pawned his brain to his master and he believes everything and he perpetually waits for the good things to happen in his life and the good days to come.
Right. Sir, what are the new projects that you are working on? One we know of is Netflix Bahubali series coming up. So how excited are you about that and any new projects that you're working on?
That will be my second Netflix series actually. One is already there called Sarfarosh.
Okay, sir.
That is already there. I had written it for Discovery Channel. I had written the broad story for that, the entire planning of it. That is already there. So this will be the second one. Apart from that, I have written a few web series which are going into productions now. 2 of them are there. 2 films are coming. Announcement will come soon. One in Hindi and one in the South. Both will be coming. And children's book is there. Then there is a 16-hour Ramayana, different Ramayanas, different lessons series which is coming in Audible. Then Bahubali 3 will come in December. A non-fiction is coming. Then another new series is starting with Amazon Westland. So there are at least 5-6 books, 2 films, 3 web series in the offing.
Sir, I just can't stop smiling because I'm just thinking with the man who's working just 3 hours a day has so much upcoming. Oh, you are a true inspiration, sir. What would be your, this is my last question to you. What would be your tips for the young writers, young aspiring writers? Any tip that you would want to give to them?
Read a lot. Reading is the first thing and foremost thing. Without and read across anything and everything you have to read. It's not that read scientific magazines, read whatever you get. Read mythology, read whatever you lay your hands on. Keep reading. That's first thing. And reading doesn't mean you have to read a book. It could be through audiobooks. It could be even through the YouTube channels. All these are considered as if you are feeding your brain. Second, every day you write without fail. Every day.
Sir, I also saw your one message that you read, write also, and those things, those affirmations come to life. So that is your mantra of success?
That always has happened. First, you have to have sankalpa, no? What you imagine what is going to happen. That many people do. I have heard it from sportsmen. I have heard it from businessmen. Many sportsmen, no, before they go to competition, they imagine that they are getting the medal. They are standing on the podium. So the first word I had written before I had written the first word of Asura, which is tomorrow is my funeral. That's the first word I had ever written for in English for a book. That's the first word of Asura. Before that, I had written this book will be a super hit. This book will sell 10 lakh copies. I had written like that, but I should have written more. I should have written should sell 500 lakh copies or something like that. That's why I only regret. All these things has happened, and they keep happening. Life is a miracle. Only you should have eyes to see it.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. Lovely signing off. It was a great pleasure. You are a truly inspiring person. Left me inspired to read, write, and move on. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We can leave?
No, sir. Vedulaji will give a thank you note and we'll also do question and answers, sir. Vedulaji, please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Nidhi. Thank you so very much for the wonderful conversation. Anand Nilkanthan ji, it was feast for the ears to listen to you. Sir, आपने वो कैरेक्टर्स लिए हैं जिनको लोगों ने शायद कभी याद नहीं किया, राइट? जैसे मंडोदरी है, शूर्पणखा है, और ऐसे कैरेक्टर्स, शांता है, मीनाक्षी है, इनको कभी किसी ने लिखा नहीं, आपने लिखा। आपको इसके रेफरेंसेस कहाँ से मिलते हैं? क्या वो पूरी तरह से आनंद नीलकंठन के ब्रेन की उपज है? आप उसको कंस्ट्रक्ट करते हैं? इसके रेफरेंसेस आपको कहाँ से मिलते हैं?
See, my work base is basically folk tales. There are so many folk tales, and Shanta's story is there in Mahabharata. Actually, Mahabharata has a 600 sloka Ramayana in Vanaparva, if I remember correctly. So in that, the Shanta story come. So most of these things I have taken, they are from folk tales, as I said, the localized Puranas. And there are so many Ramayans and Mahabharatas to read. That's what my lecture series is about in Audible. They say A.K. Ramanujan had said 300 Ramayanas, but that is the complete Ramayanas. If you take partial Ramayanas, there are countless ones, and they all have stories. I use my imagination and the language skills to bring it together, but I am nothing more than a recounter of tales told for thousands of years by unknown poets and writers of this great country.
Okay. We have a question from Kumar Zilpilwar, and Anindita, if we can unmute him. कुमार, आप अपना प्रश्न पूछ सकते हैं. कुमार जिलपिलवार, आप अपना प्रश्न पूछ सकते हैं. आपको अनम्यूट किया गया है.
I think he cannot.
हाँ.
चलिए तो questions on the Q&A.
हाँ, yeah. I can. I'll read it out for you. Ravana has a kingdom spread for 1,000 or more years. He was a powerful king. According to you, what are the 3 major attributes of Ravana that made him a great king?
I had put it in Asura as a conversation between Ravana and Mahabali, the Asura emperor who was dethroned and sent to Patal. So I had put it in a different way. So Ravana is one person who you can symbolically, if you say, he had taken life with all his 20 hands and thought with all his 10 heads. These are just symbolism. So one of my books which is coming up is about Asura Marga. That is a what you call a non-fiction book which talks about unfettered ambition is necessary for life. You have to be jealous because jealousy is a driving force, provided you know how to use it. You have to be discontented in life. Only discontentment will bring progress. This is what Ravana followed. This is called Asura Marga. This is what the world follows also. We try to fool ourselves saying that it is not true because we are reading the wrong manual for our daily life. There is 4 stages of life, and after Brahmacharya, where you acquire knowledge, in Grahastha, you need all these things. You have to be discontented. The moment you get contented with your normal life, then your only discontentment left is about your afterlife, and that is when you go for sannyasa or vanaprastha. So the moment you get contented, your progress stops there. Ravana was never contented in life, so he has eternal youth. One mantra of eternal youth is being discontented. The world developed because the world was discontented. If the world was contented, the first man was contented, he would have lived in the caves or the trees. The progress comes because of discontentment. We have to nurture our discontentment. We have to nurture our ambition. That is Asura Marga. That is the mantra for Grihasthas. This need not be done in a violent way. This need not be done in a way, perhaps Ravana went wrong there, but this need not be done in a way to create harm to others. But contentment is poison in a Grihastha life. In a sannyasi life, contentment about your Grihastha life is okay. There also discontentment acts. In a sannyasi life, many of our scriptures talk about that for the moksha marga. There also you are discontented. Why? Because you don't want this life. You want to reach the next level, the moksha. There also it is the discontentment only which is working. So all the gurus who are telling that you have to live contented life, I feel are telling either it deliberately or they are misguided. I'll stick my neck out to that and tell it. And my book, the next book is about that also. That only.
Oh, wow. You work only for 3 to 4 hours, and rest of the time you said, as you say, you just lays out. But then if writing is your passion follows you wherever you are all through, right? So in such case, suddenly an idea strikes, a thread of your story, you gets it any time of the day. What do? You wait for the
I record it.
You record it, okay. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay. But then लिखना आपका सिर्फ वो सुबह 3-4 घंटे ही होता है.
Yes.
Okay. But then Anand Nilkantan ji, I would like to ask you one question, that writing something is not always from mind, right? You explained the mathematics of writing, but then it's not always mathematics, right? So जब दिल बोलता है लिखने का मन करता है, या कभी ऐसा होता होगा जब मन नहीं करता है, आप लिखना नहीं चाहते हो, ये भी तो संभव है. इट्स नॉट लाइक, आप क्या कहेंगे इस पर?
Most days I don't want to write.
Okay,
But you write.
That's what is passion.
Most days I don't want to write.
You don't want to write. Okay,
Yeah.
I heard you want to write. Okay.
I don't want to write on most days because I'm lazy.
Okay.
What happens is you have to be at your desk and write. Keep writing and it will find you. Maybe the first 40 minutes of this 1 hour you write trash. You throw it out later. You have to go hunt and bring it. Then you go into that zone. Otherwise, what happens? So I have seen, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it is like you ask Sachin Tendulkar, every day he may not have the mood to practice. Who wants to practice? So boring. But he will go and practice in the nets for hours. Why? Because it is his passion and profession. Same way, if you are a professional writer, if you are taking it as a hobby, it is okay. Once in a while you write it, you publish a story, and if you are lucky, you publish a story. But for me, it is a profession, and I had to force myself to write. And when I force myself to write, the writing might not come properly. But as I continue it, slowly I will fall into that gear. It's like warm up. The first 10 hours, first 40 minutes is a warm up. 40 minutes, 15 minutes.
Anandji, you were off.
Sorry, Pritilaji, Mr. Kumar has written his question on the Q&A box. You can ask that.
No, actually he has said thank. Acha. Okay.
There are two more questions by AAG.
Two more questions. Okay. Q&A. No.
Sir, what inspired you to write Asura?
I think I have written 3-4 pages essay on the beginning of Asura itself, why I chose Asura. And I answered the same question when you started with, why it is more fascinating at the start of the interview.
Right. That was a question by one of our viewers, and he also asks, do you feel Ravana had some qualities better than Ram?
Many Ramayanas talk about Ravana having 15 qualities and Rama having 16 qualities. That is the only difference. The one quality Ravana didn't have is humility. Other than that, most of the qualities that Rama had, Ravana also had. So from 16 and 15, that one made the whole difference. What we have to understand is, without Ravana there is no Ram, without Ram there is no Ravan. One cannot exist without the other. That's the first.
Right.
Anandji, thank you so very much. There is another question. You were talking about Sthala Purana, and we find different legends about the same story in different places. So जब आप लिखने बैठते हैं, when you start writing, and ये सारे स्थल पुराण आपको हेल्प करते हैं, आपको कंफ्यूज करते हैं, या आपके लिए ये बहुत जरूरी है?
It is like source material, no? It is like I will put it like this: you are going to build a building. There are thousands of materials in the world. You can put marble, you can put tiles on the floor, you can put hundreds of things. It is the architect's choice to take what material is available. Similarly, so many stories are there. It's like a painter who chooses the colors. I choose whichever folktale is suitable for my narration. That's all.
Another question, Anandji. Other than Puranas and fiction, like Bahubali and all, if you want to write something else, what will be it?
I have written some, like the Battle of Saragadi, which I written. It's a war film. It has got nothing to do with the Netflix. I had written episodes of Adalat, which is a thriller. Then there are the books which are coming out. They are thrillers, mysteries, and all are in the offing. So that also will be coming as books. But in TV, I have done that. Other books also I have done that. And then I write columns in newspaper. No, that has nothing to do with mythology. New Indian Express, or last 4 years I have been writing.
Okay. That's wonderful. And one more question, Anand ji. अभी दुनिया में इतना कुछ हो रहा है, so much is happening around, and it happens every time, every moment of life, right? So इन सब से अलग हटके अपने धुन में लिखना, आप जो लिखना चाहते हैं वही लिखना कठिन है क्या? Is it tough or what?
Whatever is the environment, that will reflect in my writing. Otherwise, that writing has.
Okay.
So the more things happen, the better for a writer. The more chaotic it is, the more people will want to find a meaning, and the writer's job is to give at least a semblance of the meaning to that.
Exactly. Right.
Nidhi, there is one question in the Q&A box which has been written by Mr. Kumar.
वो पूछ लिया है.
That question, you can read that out.
वो एक्चुअली पूछ लिया है हमने. अगर कुमार, अगर आप कुछ और पूछना चाहते हो तो फिर हम डेफिनेटली आपको कनेक्ट करना चाहेंगे, क्योंकि हम आपसे प्रश्न सुनना चाहेंगे. हम आपको कनेक्ट कर सकते हैं कुमार? जी कुमार जिलपिलवार, अब हम आपको अनम्यूट करते हैं. आप, जी हाँ, आप सुन पा रहे हैं हमको? हाँ, आप अपने प्रश्न पूछ सकते हैं आनंद जी से.
Vediraji, he wants to know, his question is, can you tell something more about Bali?
Okay, okay, ठीक है. जी.
Please read Vanara book. Entire book is about Bali. See, Bali is a great warrior who defeated even Ravan, and Ram had to hide behind the tree and shoot him to kill him. That is one of the most debated things about Dharma in Ramayana and later in Mahabharata also. Ram gets criticized for two things. One is abandoning Sita, and one is killing of
And killing of Bali. Yes, that's true.
Sorry for interrupting. I have a question. What is the science behind the spirituality? And what do you think about, what are your thoughts about the rituals behind the story?
Rituals behind the story? Rituals or story behind the
stories? We have a lot of rituals, you know, that we all like to follow and we adhere to, like if we say Diwali.
Rituals are for what you call channelizing your mind. There is nothing more than that. That all the masters have already told. When you do rituals, you are trying to, by repeating the same thing again and again, or doing a particular thing, you are just analyzing your mind. It's a self-suggestion, scientifically, if you speak. More than that, other thing is just pattern seeking. That the kind of pseudo-scientific explanation that WhatsApp universities give, they are very entertaining, of course. But mostly what we have to understand is that Shankaracharya had told it beautifully once, the Adi Shankaracharya. When he walked into Mandara Misra's home, he was doing the death ritual of his parent. And Shankaracharya calls him to debate, and Mandara Misra and Ubhay Bharati, his wife, they say that you are a Brahmin and you should know you are a guru, and you should know that when you are doing rituals, you should not interrupt it. This is such a, what you call pavitra. This is such an auspicious thing, and why are you doing this? I am doing the death rituals of my Pitrus. Then Shankaracharya asks, are you sure that they are here? Or is it your belief? Is it your sankalpa? Then they start the debate. Shankaracharya wins the debate. First with Mandara Misra, then with Ubhay Bharati. Later, Mandara Misra becomes Sringeri Shankaracharya. That's a legend. And then he finds that Adi Shankara himself doing his mother's death rituals. Not only that, Adi Shankara codifies the death rituals of the entire country. There were different methods. He codifies it how to do. So what we are following now mostly is what was codified by Adi Shankara. Then this guy, Mandara Misra, asked angrily, that day you came and proved that these rituals are not necessary, and now you yourself are codifying it. What is the meaning of it? Then Adi Shankara says the rituals are not for the dead, it is for the living. That is the answer.
True, true.
Yeah.
It is a way of living, right? Right.
Yeah.
We learn from it and we follow it, right?
Actually. Mhm.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
थैंक यू सो मच एंड आई थिंक अनिंदिता समय भी हमारा हो चला है
Yes.
और हम यहाँ पे इस चर्चा को विराम देना चाहेंगे और बहुत ही अच्छी चर्चा, बहुत ही ज्ञानवर्धक और बहुत सारी सूचनाएं और बहुत सारी बातें पता चली हैं। किस तरह से आपने इंजीनियरिंग से शुरू की जो कि एक मजबूरी थी, लेकिन इंसान अपनी सभी मजबूरियों को तोड़कर अपने पैशन में आ ही जाता है, वो काम कर ही लेता है जो उसे करना होता है और जिसको करने में उसे सबसे ज्यादा आनंद आता है और वो आप कर रहे हैं। यही अपने आप में बहुत बड़ी प्रेरणा है, बहुत बड़ा मोटिवेशन है कि हम वो करें जो हम करना चाहते हैं। थैंक यू सो वेरी मच आनंद जी। हम डेफिनेटली चाहेंगे कि ये कोविड-19 वाली सिचुएशन खत्म होने के बाद आप भुवनेश्वर आए, हम आपसे रूबरू आमने सामने बैठ कर हम एक और सेशन राइट सर्कल का करें जहाँ पे सब आपसे मिल सकें, आपसे बातें कर सकें। Looking forward to that and thank you so very much. Thank you Nidhi for the wonderful conversation. बहुत अच्छा लगा। आप जब भी बातें करती हो तो फिर बातों का रुख ही दूसरा होता है, बहुत आनंद आता है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
So much आनंद जी हमारे साथ थे, इसलिए हम सभी आनंद में थे। Thank you so much, आनंद जी, कंठन जी। Thank you sir, thank you so much.
आपने वो आनंद को रेडिएट किया है चारों तरफ एंड वी ऑल आर इन द स्पेल।
आनंदित हो गए।
हम सब उस स्पेल में हैं, आनंद वाले स्पेल में हैं।
Thank you to Bhubaneswar and take us out from the spell, you know.
Exactly.
That is your responsibility now, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prabha Ketan Foundation. Thank you, Ehsaas Women. A special thanks to Anindita, Manisha, जो हमें लगातार गाइड करते हैं और इतने अच्छे अच्छे सेशंस हमारे लिए आयोजित करते हैं। थैंक यू मेफेयर होटल्स एंड रिसोर्ट्स, थैंक यू भुवनेश्वर टाइम्स, संदीप, थैंक यू सो वेरी मच, जो प्रभा केतान फाउंडेशन और एहसास वुमेन की सारी बातों को पूरे भुवनेश्वर और पूरे उड़ीसा में आप पहुंचाते हैं। थैंक यू सो वेरी मच। और ईश्वर से, महाप्रभु जगन्नाथ जी से यही प्रार्थना करेंगे कि जल्दी से जल्दी हम इस वर्चुअल स्क्रीन से निकलकर एक्चुअल सेशंस में आ जाएं। और जय जगन्नाथ। थैंक यू सो वेरी मच।
जय जगन्नाथ।
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you audience for joining. Thank you so very much. Thank you.